Do you even know?
Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Coach. I raise my emotional support Americano to you today. Do you even know? Do you even know who your competition is the question here on Coffee with Coach. I was talking to a colleague who is the director of sales at a radio group and reflecting on my time in radio, advertising, sponsorship sales, and on air. And we were just talking about how you need to know who your competition is and what they're doing. And some people say, oh, Coach Brew, I saw in another video and I read one of your books, you shouldn't have any competition. Yeah, in a perfect world, the reality of it is there are very few brands, businesses, or individuals who are, quote, the only. Many more who are the best, or even fewer, I should say, who are the best. And many more who are just also Rams. You're not unique. You do not occupy unique real estate in your market. I mean that in the figurative sense, real estate that you own. You're competing. You're competing every day, especially if you're in a crowded, commoditized business. Something boils down to price, something someone can get just about anywhere. Lawn care, snow removal, appliances, dry cleaning, whatever the case may be, coffee. So do you really know who your competition is? It's the question. And it's a legitimate one, because knowing who your competition is, and more importantly, their likes, dislikes, tendencies, behaviors, pricing, negotiating tactics, how they package and sell their competing product, is intel that you want to be armed with when you are working with prospects or existing customers you want to renew. So in the case of advertising, the example I love to give is when I was working at ESPN Radio in Carolinas, hosting an on-air evening drive sports talk show. I was selling sponsorship and advertising during the day for my show. I called on a rock climbing facility, indoor rock climbing wall, brand new business. How I found out about that business is a topic of another video. It's a great sales strategy. But I called on them, gave my presentation, articulated the value and uniqueness of advertising on my station and my show. Didn't close them that day. I asked what I thought was a really good question. What's stopping you from making a decision doing business with us right now? And the owner's response was, I have meetings with the other radio groups in town this week. Specifically, the sales rep from, and I won't even mention the radio group, you can figure out who it is. It's a large broadcasting group in the southeast United States, is coming in right after you. And I said, who's the sales rep? She told me his name. And I just happened to know this gentleman was a listener to ESPN Radio. He's a huge sports fan. I saw him at just about every sporting event in town all the time. And he would often call into my radio show when we opened the phone lines. So I had a really strong sense that he was what you call a P1. What do I mean by P1? He is a P1 listener. P1 stands for preset number one. They have your station number one on their presets, on their radio dial, so to speak, on their car stereo. And to my knowledge, that's still a thing, even though people listen to TuneIn Radio app, podcasts, all that stuff on their phone. People still listen to radio in their car, and there are still presets on the dial. We're a P1 with him, or he was a P1 with us, I should say. So, being armed with that information about my competition, knowing their rates were higher, knowing that their audience was not the rock climbing facility's ideal audience, ours was. I explained that to her, and I also said, as you are making your decision, I think it would be very helpful for you to ask this gentleman, who will remain nameless, if you could go out and take a look at the stations on his presets in his vehicle. Yeah, I went there. So, lo and behold, she agrees to do that. She does. She goes out and does exactly that. And we were preset number 1. At that point, he didn't stand a chance. I had the business. Why? Is that dirty pool? No, it's knowing your competition. And it's doing, really, the client, the prospect, a favor. You kept them from making a bad decision. Now, the funny part of all that was, as I was on my way out of the building, he was actually on his way in and stopped to talk to me. He's like, "Hey, Coach Brew, good to finally meet you. Talked to you a bunch on the phone," meaning the hotline for my radio show. So he just really kind of reinforced my whole point with her and set that all up beautifully, because she was standing right there. And I said, "Yeah, good to meet you. See you soon." So afterwards, she called me and said, "You were right. Preset number 1 was not one of his own stations that he represents. It was yours, specifically for your show." And I got the business. I got the order. It became a great account. And he called me, the rep from the other radio group, called me up that night and just basically said, "I can't believe you did that, but I can believe you did that." He wasn't mad. He just knew, like, I out-strategized him, so to speak. And I don't share that story to impress you. I share it to impress upon you. Use all the tools in your tool belt. Use all the weapons in your arsenal when selling. And a lot of that is knowing your competition, knowing them better than they know themselves in some cases. Like in that one, you couldn't have predicted that. So a lot of your success is predicated on having more information than your competition and being prepared to use that information. So, like, for example, if you work in radio sales, the first thing I would tell you to do is what I did when I got started. I emailed from like an ambiguous Gmail account. I emailed each radio station I was going to be competing against for business, and excuse me, asked for a rate card and wanted to learn more about advertising. So they sent me the rate card, the presentation deck that was, all about their station. So I knew what their fees were, my competition, and sort of how they present their offer and their packaging of everything. And they did that for each radio group in town. It was a mid-sized market, and there was a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition that was bigger and in theory better than us. They appeared in the rating books at a time when we didn't. They were 100,000 watt flamethrower FM stations with huge signals and coverage footprints. ESPN Radio was a 1,000 watt AM radio station, and we won business, even though we were the underdog, even though we were the little guy. And it's just an example of when you are armed with critical information about your competition, you can be outmanned, but you're not outmatched. And if you've gotten nothing else from my videos, you've probably gotten this. It's the fact that intellectual resources trump financial resources every time. It's not about the size of your signal, your coverage footprint in radio. It's about tailoring a message that fits precisely your value proposition, your advertiser's value proposition, to their ideal audience. And that's what we really thrive in doing. So how can you do the same thing? Pretty easily. Set up a burner email account, so to speak. Just a Gmail account. Say you're a new business in town and you want to get, you reach out to your competition and ask for information on their product, service, pricing, all that. Marketing materials. You send me some brochures, PDF catalog, whatever it is. Reach out to your competition and gather intel, so to speak. In the military, they send it's called LRP, long-range surveillance. They send their long-range surveillance team out. Let's say they're in Afghanistan. They do long-range surveillance, gather intel, data, look for behavior patterns, the times in which the enemy is out and about. They bring all of that intel back to base, and that's how they formulate their game plan. So how are you doing your own version of that? Gathering intel on your competition to help position yourself better, to help you understand how they compete so you know how you should be competing. I think it's a critical question, and one that if you're not already asking yourself, you should start asking yourself that question. It's in your best interest. I don't know anyone in any industry who has really gotten a better result by flying blind with something. And I bet you don't either. So that's my message for you today. Know your competition better than they know themselves. I would encourage you to subscribe to this channel below. Click subscribe, comment, like the video if you like it, leave a comment. That's how YouTube and these other platforms formulate their algorithm, and what they promote and what gets moved up to the top in search is when you like something, when you subscribe, you comment. They track engagement, and that's part of their algorithm. So I'd encourage you to do that. And if you haven't headed over to CoachBrew.com, head over there now, and that's how we can stay in closer contact. Sign up for my e-newsletter, where you'll get podcasts, articles, infographics, videos similar to this. And when you do so, you will get a digital download automatically in your inbox. 12 ways to double your sales, double your results. And I promise you, if you follow those strategies, you will do exactly that. This has been Coffee with Coach. I raise my emotional support coffee to you. Make it a great day.